Alright, welcome everyone to Zenith Online Racing, EU tier. This is round 20 here at Mexico. I am Zyg, back again after the winter break and after missing the US Grand Prix. So I'm excited to be back and excited for hopefully a dry race. We have a dry qualifying session, thankfully. And yeah, we had in Tier 1 here on Monday, full wet weather, which was a struggle, to say the least. So thankful that we at least have a dry qualifying and hopefully a dry race as well. I'm sure I will see in the chat if that is not the case. But yeah, pretty exciting track here in Mexico. Very tricky with track limits. That'll be something to keep an eye out for, and strategy as well. It's one of the tracks where the game recommends a two-stop, and it's kind of what the game tells you is the fastest, but you can make a one-stop work. Soft, medium, if you're really kind, soft, hard, if you're more like me and struggle with tires. But we're following along here with XL J. Cole, who is one of the drivers. We will go through the championship standings here in a little while after qualifying, but he is one of the drivers who still has a chance at winning this championship. Really, any one of four drivers is still, with a couple of rounds left, still's got a shot. So we'll follow along with him. He's on the softs. We'll see if he decides to have this as a full qualifying lap or just to get his eye in. The Williams will sometimes start a lap and then abandon it just as a way to warm up. So don't know if this will be a final lap for him, one that will count, but certainly help get his eye in. And he looks pretty tidy through the first complex of corners. So easy to get a track invalidation there. So easy to lose a lot of time if you try and carry too much speed or run too wide. Purple through the first sector, as he's the only one to set a first sector time. And then now approaching this little double apex hairpin. Really tricky corner, and the exit there really important to set you up for the S's. You can take so many of these flat, just this left-hander, only the tiniest lift, sorry, the right-hander, only the tiniest lift before the left-hander, which is just crazy how much downforce these cars have that you can take that section flat. Running wide there, braking for the hardest corner on the whole track, though, this very tight hairpin in the stadium section. And then a very underrated right-hander that's really important to nail and get a good exit. Takes a short run to the line, and he sets a 1:13.9. That's a very, very solid lap time from him so far. Yeah, 13.9 will be a tough one to beat. This is XL Cali, who's entering the third sector. Heron sets a 15.1. 14.3. Looks like he went down to neutral there for a minute. 14.3 for Barton. That's a very solid time for Barton as well. And looks like we have XL Miami setting a 14.2, and Cali with a 15.4. Lots of times, all getting put up on the board right now. Ashes, excuse me. Coming through the third sector now. We'll see what time he's able to get. JXW setting the time on the mediums. It will be very difficult to qualify on the mediums. There's quite a difference between softs and mediums here. Ashes setting an 18.1. Looks like he might have had a mistake. Larkin, who is one of the drivers in contention for the championship, is on medium. So unless he's really confident about an early lap on the mediums, I'm guessing he's going to go out again on the softs. J. Cole's time of a 13.9 is still on provisional pole by 0.3 over Miami. Then Barton Fuzz with a 14.4. He snuck in there. Didn't notice that time. Beck setting a 15.0. A lot of drivers setting 15.0, 15.1. As Zuidema misses out on pole position by 0.04 from his teammate. And somebody went off. It's like XL Cali might have been getting out of the way for one of the McLarens, but McLaren's coming in the pit anyway. Got Jinnit coming out of the pits, and Jin and Juice. That's not going to be hard to commentate on at all with those two names, Jin and Juice and Jinnit. Just getting harder and harder, but he's rounding the final corner now. Looks like he's really out of ERS, so he might have had to take 2 laps at it. And yeah, must have been validated his first time because he sits a 16.1. So J. Cole, I think he has the softs fitted now, yeah. Everybody so far in the top 10, with the exception of Larkin, doing their fastest time on the softs. We'll leave that up. He's out now, J. Cole, on the medium, so he might have, you know, turned the engine down, or might be seeing now if he can try and beat that time. I guess we'll just have to wait and see, but... A lot of drivers in the pits after their first round of flying laps. Bit of a lockup. Yeah, he's out lap. As J. Cole's getting ready to start his lap. Yeah, validated his out lap, but is valid now on his flying lap and is going to be giving it his all. So I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen the Williams try and set up a tow. They usually try on tracks like this, but I guess not today. Doesn't go as wide into turn 1 as you can. You can't straddle that curve if you get it just right. Looks pretty tidy through the first sector, first complex of corners, and now down to second of 3 DRS straights. Big lockup, same place he locked up on his outlap. And now for this tricky double apex, you can straddle the curve all the way in. And then, like I said, this is one of the trickiest, most crucial acceleration zones on the whole track. Track limits I found through this portion of the track are not as bad on this year's game as they were last year. They're still tricky in other parts of the lap, but at least through there, the S's, it doesn't seem to be too bad. As he's approaching the third sector now, takes really wide in there, down to third gear for some rotation, up to fifth, down second, all the way to first. Short shifting up to third for some traction. Leaving it in third there. Kind of surprised he didn't go down to second, and he spins on acceleration on the medium. And thankfully, he's right there by the pit entry, so he can just dive right in. But yeah, that's a scary place to lose the cars. You can go into the wall, and that would be your session there, done and dusted. Let's see who's on a lap. Miami. Looks like he is. And it's invalid. Barton's on a lap. He has set a 14.3 on his first lap. Let's see what he's able to better, or if he's able to better that lap here. Ran a little bit wide on the exit there. Kind of surprised he was valid. J. Cole did I still am just letting that sink in. J. Cole did a good job to keep that out of the wall. That kind of, like I said, could really easily hit the pit entry, and that's your session. As Barton, who had gained a 10th through the first sector, looked like he might have just lost it there, as he had a little bit of a wobble and a lockup. Coming through the second and third sector now, we'll see what he's able to do. It's pretty tidy through the S's. Unfortunately, it looks like he's not been able to improve. Maybe he'll find some time here in the third sector. Rotating the car pretty well through there. Doesn't shift up as quickly as we've seen some other drivers through there, so he might have been struggling for traction a little bit. Crosses the line, though, was able to improve his time, if even just by a little bit, to a 14.3. Heron's got an invalid time. RC's looking to improve, but is down on his first lap. JXW, who had set his first time on mediums, now has set a time on softs, and you can see, I think that delta was like 1.3 seconds. It's a huge difference. Let's see what Zwiedem is able to do. He's down by 4/10. This should really launch him ahead of his teammate if he's able to keep it together and keep it valid through this third sector. He was able to goes 6/10 ahead of his teammate. Goes 6/10 ahead of his teammate, which we know J. Cole has probably got some more time to find. Let's see. A lot of drivers now in the pits after their second run. J. Cole has found almost 3/10. Let's see if he can find more time throughout the rest of the lap. Wasn't able to find too much more time. If anything, he lost a little bit of time. Let's see how his third sector is, though. Braking down all the way to first gear. Looks like he struggled a little bit through there. He's able to get his foot down, takes a short run in the line. He does find some more time in the third sector, but it's not enough. He's got a 13.5 on the board. Zuidema still got a couple tenths on him. See Beck's lap now as he's heading down. A lot of drivers, you know, all the first round of flying laps kind of all happened in sync as everyone, you know, left the garage about the same time. But as drivers start to invalidate and dive into the pits and take different fuel loads for different runs, we're starting to see a little bit more variety. But this track is just one of those that you can start 4 runs, but you probably can't finish 4 runs. So if you invalidate, you can probably dive into the pits and still get out and go again. But a lot of drivers right now are probably trying to do the calculation of, do I have time to do 2 more laps before the end of the session or just 1? So that's why we see a lot of drivers in the pits, and we might see some waiting a few more minutes to go out for their last lap. But Beck looks pretty good on this lap so far. I missed the split, so I wasn't able to see if he had gain time or not, but he looks pretty solid. It is, after all, not the sector splits, but the final time that matters. And let's see what Beck's final time is. It's a 14.3, so he finds quite a bit of time and moves up to 5th place. A lot of drivers we have now between. It's one of the things I love about the EU tier is you look, we've got Miami in P3 with a 14.294. And not even 0.3 of a second is all the way down to Heron. So you have such a clump there, and then we have drivers, 2 with a 15.1, 1 with a 14.2, right on the outskirts of the top 10. So a lot of competition, a lot of battles all over. And we know Larkin, he's only got a time on the mediums. We know he's really quick and will probably be a candidate for pole position as well. But don't think there's anyone on a flying lap right now except for maybe Miami. Yep, he looks like he just started a lap, so let's follow along with him. Through Sector 1, you could see all the curb you have to take through there in order to be quick. He's down by about a 10th. He needs to find a full second if he wants pole position. He needs to find about 0.3 if he wants to be into the 13s. But yeah, based off of his first sector, I don't know if pole position is going to be on the cards for him. We'll just have to wait and see. We have Zuidema retiring from the session, so he must be pretty content with his lap. And I got to be honest, if I had a 13.3, I would be too. But Miami able to find a little bit more time through that middle sector. And let's see now as he's going through the third sector. Looks pretty tidy through the stadium section. Hard to tell from the off-board shot sometimes. But he does find half a second and gets very close to J. Cole. So he's got a 13.773. And yeah, that's going to put himself kind of right up there. Probably not have time for another lap with the time it takes the crew to roll you in and roll you out. I doubt he has time for another flying lap, although he's got his ERS turned up and it looks like he might be pushing to get back in. But as Gin and Juice looks like he just finished a lap, might be going on for another one. Ash is finding a little bit of time, but maybe, I don't know what his sector splits were like, but probably needs to find a little bit more time, although he looks like his ERS is running low too, so he might be struggling. Looks like we have J. Cole starting the lap, looks like we have Fuzz starting the lap. We'll go check in with them in just a minute. As we see Ash is finding a lot of time. Let's watch him through the third sector, and then we'll check on some other drivers. A little bit of traffic is he's struggling to hit that apex. He does find a good chunk of time, so a good improvement, which is really all you can ask for. As J. Cole looks like he's on an out lap, he doesn't have his battery turned up, so he might just be doing a lap to run down a little bit of fuel and get the best track conditions at the end of the session. Fuzz has invalidated his lap. Hopefully he has fuel for another run. His ERS should be okay. It's about 70-ish%. Yeah, he should be fine for another lap. See, Larkin's out on some softs. Looks like he used a little bit of hot lap maybe on his out lap. So we have RC retiring from the session. Looks like he did that in the pits, so he must be happy with his time. Looks like Larkin is just now starting his time, his lap, so we'll come back, check on him in a minute. Let's see what Fuzz is doing. Fuzz is down through the first sector, I believe, yeah, down through the first sector, so don't know what's going on with him. Barton is about to cross the line. Let's see what he's able to do. He goes 14.1, so he doesn't change any positions, but does find a little bit of time. J. Cole is down on his time by 1/10.5, so pole position looking slightly out of his reach, but should be feeling pretty confident for P2 as Miami's session has ended and Beck's session has ended. And J. Cole, just like that, finds the time, so if he has a very good third sector, still possible. Left it in second there for the hairpin. Looks pretty good. It's going to be close. I have a feeling Zuidema is going to hang on, but I could be wrong. And he does find only about 0.5 J. Cole. Let's see what happened with Larkin? Looks like Larkin crashed out of the session. Oh no! Larkin looks like he's stopped in the second sector. Let's see if we can ride on board with one of the Haas drivers. So I think it's a Haas driver. Looks like Larkin crashed out. I just didn't see what happened, and then yellow flags and the Red Bull in Sector 2, and that was it. So here I was thinking that he might be challenging for pole position, but I guess not. Let's see what Callie's slowing down. So looks like that is going to be our grid. It's a very strong showing from the Williams, as we've come to expect. They're P1 and P2. But Racing Point also with a really strong session. Barton and Bag of Bones, P4 and P5 respectively. That's a very nice qualifying session from Racing Point. So yeah, I have no idea what happened with Larkin. We wanted to see what ended with J. Cole's lap, and then when I looked back up, Larkin had retired from the session. So we'll have to get the playback on that one after the fact, but this is our grid for the race today. We have Zuidema and J. Cole on the front row, then XL Miami, Barton and Bag of Bones, Beck, Fuzz, Heron, XL Cali, and RC rounding out the top 10. Crucially, everyone in the top 10 on the soft tires. Larkin will start P11 on his choice of tires, then JXW, Gin and Juice, Ashes, and Ginnet. So, yeah, a bit of an odd ending to that session, but a very strong showing from the Williams. They only Miami even close to them. Now is as good a time as any to run through the championship standings. Miami is our championship leader on 184 points. Larkin is in P2 on 182 points. So only 2 points separating them, as we have clouds for the race today, but looks dry. Let's hope. But yeah, Miami and Larkin, only 2 points separating them at the top. J. Cole and Zuidema, the two Williams, are P3 and P4 on 171 and 170 points. So that's Miami, Larkin, J. Cole, Zuidema, who are the top four. 2 points between Miami and Larkin. Miami is on 184, then 182. J. Cole has 171, Zuidema has 170. So 14 points separating those top four drivers, with the top two separated by 2 points, 3 and 4 separated by a singular point. So any one of those drivers could take the championship. It's really probably going to go down to the very last race, and depends on things like qualifying and whatever happened with the end of Larkin's session. Might come back to bite him in this championship fight, as all three of his championship rivals are starting in the top 3 and he's outside the top 10. So a bit of an odd one there, and something to keep an eye on for sure. You can see the strategy there that the game recommends as the 2-stop. And yeah, I mean, the 2-stop is Mexico. Turn 1 Mexico is always pretty crazy, so you never know with safety cars, and if it's cloudy, I don't know if there's a chance of rain or not, but you never know with rain and safety cars. That strategy could be variable, but I imagine we'll see a lot of the drivers try and go for a 1-stop. In general in this game, in the absence of a safety car, in the absence of anything like that, the 1-stop is usually the preferred option, just because you have less overtaking to do. This is a track where you can do some overtaking, although DRS trains here are brutal, because you have 3 DRS zones, and so it can be tricky to overtake. And as I said at the beginning of qualifying, track limits are also something to keep a watch on. So let's see. Outside the top 10, we have a mix of mediums and softs. I guess we'll just have to see how it goes, but I would say Larkin starting in P11 on the mediums has got to feel pretty. If he's not starting in the top 3, that's probably almost where you would want to start. It's outside the top 10. So we will have the position change pulled up. Let's get the telemetry off, at least for the first lap. And yeah, let's get ready to go. It's going to be a long one, 36 laps, but it's a quick lap and a couple of long straights in there as well. Good for overtaking if you can avoid a DRS train. So as the grid is forming up, we'll wait till we can get a good camera angle, and we'll get going. One, two, 3, 4, 5 red lights are on. It is lights out and away we go. They were not held for very long. Looks like it's a very good start from Zuidema. J. Cole looks like he's struggling a little bit. One of the racing points behind him might have be able to make a move. Oh, come on, give us a better angle. Here we go, down into turn 1. It is the 2 Williams. Can Barton slip through into P3? He can't. He's going to have to tuck in behind. Looking down the field, we have all sorts of position swapping left and right. Drivers going side by side through the exit. It looks like everyone made it out unscathed. Larkin with a fantastic start, gaining 5 positions. Gin and Juice gaining 3 positions, and then a couple drivers going side by side. Let's see what Fuzz is able to do. Fuzz did not have a very good start. I wonder if he has front wing damage. Doesn't look like a lot. Going slowly is the Alfa Romeo of Asher at the back, and RC now with a great start. Let's see what JXW is able to do. He's starting on the medium tires. Those are going to be a struggle to turn on those tires and get them working, as we have a Ferrari going, almost losing control of the car as we go into the third sector. Nothing really happening down the field, but nothing really happening up at the front either. It is Widema in P1 still, separated by about 0.6 to J. Cole, who has about the same margin to Miami and Barton and Bag of Bones behind. Larkin with a fantastic start. Has to be said, it was a very, very good opening lap from him. And that's one of the benefits of Mexico. You have such a long run into turn one. If you can get a good drive off the line and avoid losing your front wing, it can pay off for you pretty well. It looks like it did for Larkin. So we will wait to see the rest of the field once our timing glitch gets worked out. There we go. Looks like we're back now. Looks like everyone made it without damage. I mean, without serious damage. We had no one dive into the pits for a change of front wing. We had no VSC or safety car, so that's a win, I think. Not to make it through Mexico turn one with none of that. Looking down the field, we have some gaps starting to stabilize already, as is the case so often with Mexico, but the Williams are already breaking that DRS gap, or very close to breaking that DRS gap from Miami in P3, so as Widema there setting the fastest lap, and DRS will be enabled this lap, so for Miami this is a crucial lap. If he has hopes of winning the race, he's really got to stay with the front runners, as we have Larkin making moves again, going side by side, and looks like he got that place on Bag of Bones, so only saw the end of that move, but Bag of Bones is almost about to lose out another position to Beck. Beck just decides to back out of that move. I think that was smart from Beck there. He had a good run on Bag of Bones, but with Larkin there in the mix too, as Larkin struggles a little bit on traction. Maybe that'll invite Bag of Bones, but Beck has got Heron all over the back of him. We have such a tight battle here. I love watching it. Let's see, as Gin and Juice already picks up a 3-second time penalty, and I have a feeling we'll be seeing a couple more of those throughout the day. Heron and Excel Cali all over the back of this battle, just waiting for one of them to make a mistake. Larkin does not have DRS. That is crucial. If Bag of Bones and Beck can just stay with him for a couple laps, they can charge up their battery, but Heron's going just right around the outside of Beck, and Beck is losing one position. Looks like he might lose another one to Cali. Can Cali hold it around the outside? It doesn't look like it. But Fuzz is right behind him. Fuzz is getting a run. We have almost going 3 wide down into this braking zone. Cali has to back out of it, but that invites Fuzz into the mix. They touch wheels. Fuzz not in the position where he wants to be. He's forced to take this interior line. Doesn't have very good traction. They're going to be going side by side again into the third sector. Fuzz finally getting the upper hand, but they touch, and Fuzz holds it. They got side by side behind him. Fuzz making contact, and now Cali's losing out. Jinnet's sneaking through and gaining a position. We've got Gin and Juice. They're going almost 4 wide into the back here as JXW goes around. JXW has gone around and is now having to pick up the pieces. So all of this tight battling, unfortunately, means that Beck has lost DRS and picked up a penalty to Heron in front, and now Fuzz picking up some of those places as well. JXW going around. I don't even know what's happening up at the front. We almost got an overtake for the lead. Maybe we should be paying attention to that, as J. Cole's thinking about going around the outside of Widema into Sector 2. Can he get him on the switchback? No. Can he get him on the switchback again? Maybe, but Zuidema does a good job keeping his car in the middle of the track. We'll have to see the aftermath of all the midfield battling after we see what's going to happen with the lead, as Fuzz and Jinnit look like they're going side by side. Let's quickly go check on that. Looks like Fuzz made it through. Meanwhile, Larkin has gained 6 positions. Miami is just on the fringes of DRS. And Larkin has already broken DRS to Bag of Bones behind, so Bag of Bones now is going to be vulnerable to Heron. I really hope the next 30 laps keep up with the pace of these first 5, because it's been fantastic racing so far. Looks like this battle at the front. Oh, now we've got... I say that the DRS straight is so long that you can be half a second behind someone and then be all over their gearbox, braking for turn 1. Let's see if he's going to make a move. He almost made a move down into this braking zone at the end of Sector 1. Last lap. Doesn't look like he has quite a good of a run. So he might live to fight another day. Miami, meanwhile, having to hold off Barton, who's making a charge. Larkin looks like he's trying to close that gap, but on the medium tires doesn't look like he's able to make as much headway as he wants on the front runners yet, but he is getting some good distance from Bag of Bones. Heron is closed up to him with the advantage of DRS, as has Beck. There's a gap then to Fuzz, who we know was stuck in some battles earlier. He's almost broken DRS to Jin. Well, I should say Jinnit, because we got Jin and Juice behind them, who's done a good job recovering from a tough first lap and is just on the outside. We've got RC, who I believe also made contact on that first lap. We have XL Cali, Asher, and then JXW, as Jinnit has picked up a time penalty. Something happened there was Zuidema and J. Cole. J. Cole fell really far behind and is out of DRS range, so I don't know what happened there as we were looking down the field. We'll have to think about that in just a minute, because we got 3 wide into the first corner, and Beck unfortunately losing out. He wasn't able to gain that position. Heron started kind of at the back of this pack and is now in the front. Let's see what Beck is able to do. Beck all over the back of Bag of Bones. Bag of Bones looks like he might be struggling, so maybe it's tires starting to fall off for him. Maybe he pushed too hard, or maybe it's struggling with fuel or ERS or something. This is a track, and I don't know if this is happening to them right now, but this is a track where if you're not careful, because of how long the front straight is, and because of the DRS trains that can form, your engine can get really hot really quickly at this track. So, and if that happens, it'll cause you to lose some power. And that might have been what could be just my armchair theory of what might be happening to Bag of Bones right now. So he looks to be struggling a little bit. We see Beck going to be the first one to dive into the pits, so he's probably, I would guess, committing to the 2-stop. We'll see what tires he goes on. Let's just get a refresher on what tires everyone else is on. The top 4 runners all on the softs. It looks like Beck is putting on a set of softs, so he's going to be committing to the 2-stop. Might be looking to take advantage of a late safety car later on, but we have Jinnit on mediums, and he looks like he's making a move on Fuzz, as Fuzz might be starting to feel the effects of those soft tires wear off. He didn't really fight it too much. As we talk about these tires, if you notice, the gap between Larkin and Barton is starting to go down. It was about 3.4 seconds a couple laps ago. That gap is down to about 2.7. So that gap falling quickly. I'm sure we will see it continue. Looks like J. Cole has recovered from maybe whatever incident he had. It'll be interesting to see what the Williams decide to do pit stop wise, as they are so close on track. They don't want to double stack in this game. Double stacking really loses you a lot of time. You can see just how powerful that DRS is when you have it. Is he going to make a move into turn 1? Yes, he is going to try. Both Williams locking up, both going side by side. And Zuidema's going to hang on to the position for now, but J. Cole's going to have DRS. And looks like he's not going to be able to make a move there. So even with DRS, it can be really challenging. We have RC diving into the pits, going on to a set of medium tires. Callie going on to some softs. In all of that, we had Beck picking up a penalty. Barton was able to get by Miami, so that's bad news for Miami's race. Larkin is getting closer and closer to this battle every lap. As I said before, for Larkin, starting P11, you know, might have been a blessing in disguise, as it allows him to have maybe what's the preferred strategy. If I'm going to guess, he's going to go medium soft. But I guess time will tell. As we have Bag of Bones. Continuing, Barton diving into the pits, going onto a set of mediums. Heron, let's see what tires he's going to fit on. It is the mediums as well. We have the Ferrari fitting on another pair of soft tires. So looks like, I think this is a little bit early for mediums if you want to take them to the end of the Grand Prix. Yeah, Monday for Tier 1 was full wet weather all race, so the tire strategy there was, you know, a little bit different, but nevertheless. We did have J. Cole box. He went to a set of softs, so he's going to be committing to that two-stop as well. A lot of drivers here thinking the two-stop is the way to go. I'm interested to see how that stacks up against the likes of Larkin and Jinnit, who are already up in either in or close to the podium positions, as it looks like Miami diving into the pits now. And Zuidema, so that's going to give Larkin the lead of the Grand Prix. So whatever happened in qualifying, I'm not sure, but he's in the lead now on mediums. He's going to be able to run a one-stop for sure, so he's got to be pretty pleased with his position so far. J. Cole and Zuidema were able to box and come out still in P3 and P4, so that's good news for them if there is some sort of safety car. They're not going to have other drivers in their way in those podium positions. Barton still ahead of Miami after the pit stop window. Beck's on those soft tires. Looks like he might be trying to make a move on JXW. Had to back out of it. Both drivers locking up. Remember, JXW went around and was at the very back of the pack. Is he going to make a move into the double apex hairpin? Doesn't look like he was able to make it stick, but the soft tires, the new soft tires, great helicopter angle there. You can see just how much more grip they have. And JXW's tires after the spin, and after running 11 laps on them, they're going to be a little bit worn. So not surprised there to see Beck able to win that traction battle. Got the next, looks like one of the only other really close battles on track at the moment, as the pit stops really open things up. Sure, we'll start to see things settle back down in a few laps, but with pit stops and different strategies, that's one of the reasons I like tracks like Mexico, where it's not clear cut, you know, like a Monaco, where it's like everybody's going to stop once and, you know, it's all going to be just the softest compounds and everything like that. I like these tracks where there's a little bit of variety, a little bit of gambling in if you're going to try and make a one-stop work or stretch a tire set for a particular stint. So I like it. It keeps you on your toes as a driver and a commentator. So still surprised a third of the way through this race that we've not seen any retirements. We've not seen any safety cars or VSCs. I don't know if we've had anybody who's had to change a front wing. Which, I'm not saying that's surprising for these particular drivers, but just surprising for a race around Mexico. As Dema is setting the fastest lap, RC picks up a time penalty. We have Miami, who's very close now, and with DRS, I would imagine he's going to try and make a move on Barton and get that position back. Let's just follow along with that. Yeah, you can see there when you get a good run on someone, it is possible to overtake, but if you're in a DRS train and you have 3 or 4 drivers, it can be really challenging. J. Cole, crucially, has gotten by Zenith. And I'm sure Dema is going to be doing that same thing later on this lap. But for J. Cole and Dema, if they want to be fighting for the win here, they really got to close that gap to Larkin and make good use of those soft tires, which it looks like they're doing. So that gap at the moment is about 8.3 seconds between P1 and P2. So we'll have to keep an eye on that over the coming laps. And see how much the Williams are able to take advantage of those soft tires. Zenith just losing out, unsurprisingly, knowing the state of the tires, both his tires and the Williams. It's interesting that Miami and Barton each chose to go to the medium tires. I wonder if either one of them are going to try and stretch those to the end. Probably possible. You're going to get close to puncture territory. This is where a VSC especially might be nice, as it'll allow them a little bit of time to take it easy on their tires, but no signs of any VSC at the moment. I did want to check on penalties. Penalties, Zenith with 6, Barton with 3, Beck with 6, so that'll be something to keep an eye on, especially at the end of the race, but with safety cars and everything, it can really affect things. So doesn't look like the chaos of the first 5 laps has not continued, at least at the same rate, as things have settled down now a little bit, as Larkin dives into the pits and goes to the soft tires. So a surprising call for me. I do not think those softs are going to last to the end at all. Yeah, that feels like a really interesting call, and at the same time, J. Cole, our current race leader, picks up a 3-second time penalty. So trouble in paradise up front for J. Cole, as he's going to pick up a time penalty, which could right now, based off of the respective strategy and final stint, really could cost him some time. So as we're approaching the halfway point, a couple interesting things to keep an eye on. Larkin, surprisingly, boxing for the softs. I would not have expected that. I would expected him to run longer on the mediums and then try and switch to the softs. I would have expected him to maybe try and make it to lap 20 or something, and go medium soft 1-stop, but looks like he's opting for the 2-stop. J. Cole picking up a crucial 3-second time penalty. Barton also has a 3-second time penalty, but Miami and Dema and Larkin all without time penalties at the moment. Bag of Bones might be sizing up a move here. He's right on the back of JXW, and he's going to have the DRS. So it looks like JXW might be, JXW and Zenith might be stretching to go 1-stop, but it looks like pretty much everyone else in the field, if you're on softs at this point, you're going to have to stop again. They're not going to do 20 laps. And if you're on mediums at this point for some of our drivers, 5 lap build mediums, 6 lap build mediums, it's going to be a big ask. I don't know if they'll be able to make it work or not, but we will see. A couple of lockups there from Bag of Bones. Up at the front, though, we have Zuidema, who might be making a move on his teammate this lap. He's got DRS and should not be too hard of a move to make. Yes, they're by themselves. He's got DRS. Yep, that move's done and dusted. A little bit of a lock up there. There's a slight chance J. Cole could get him down on the run out of the second DRS straight, but since Zuidema retains DRS, position's his. So looks like Zenith has come into the pits and fitted soft tires, so just ignore any of my strategy calls. Here I was thinking that these guys would try some one-stops, and I was mistaken. But Zenith has picked up another time penalty, and JXW also came in for softs, so no one wanting to touch the hards, and no one... the mediums might not last like we thought they would, so I'm surprised. Clearly, if you're asking about strategy, don't ask me. I drive for Ferrari in Tier 1, and apparently that strategy call is starting to wear off on me. Up at the front, though, J. Cole seems to be struggling for paces. He's already fallen out of DRS as Zuidema. So Zuidema, with no penalties, with no worry about DRS from the car behind, can really... and his tires are 1 lap fresher, so he's in a perfect position here to build his lead up at the front, and it might be his race victory to lose from this point out. Larkin is in a good spot as well. He's going to need to make another stop. Miami might not have to, though, if he can make those, if he can really stretch those mediums, which he might be able to. But yeah, Larkin's diving down into the braking zone after the second DRS straight. Ooh, a little bit of a squeeze there. Doesn't really give Miami much space on the apex. And Miami, for preservation of his race and his front wing, had to back out of that move. So an aggressive move there from Larkin. Not really leaving the space, but thankfully both drivers emerged from that without too much contact, and Miami's going to have to work hard now to keep Larkin, or to keep within Larkin's DRS as the softer tires that Larkin has are going to be a challenge to hang with. So yeah, that looks like the closest battle at the moment. Jin and Juice and Callie are close to one another, and JXW on those fresh softs, I imagine, will start to catch those guys pretty quickly. But yeah, we have the same 4 culprits as you would expect in the top 4. Zuidema, J. Cole, Larkin, and Miami. Top 4 in the championship, top 4 in the race. And yeah, with this and then 2 other rounds to go, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. A yellow flag in Sector 3, but it looks like it got sorted out. It looks like it was maybe one of the Alfa Romeos coming into the pits. There might have just been a bit of a hiccup there. But up at the front, Zuidema has really built a gap. It's over 3 seconds now. So J. Cole, don't know what happened to his pace, but it looks like he's struggling at the moment. It looks like his front wing is intact. Not quite sure what's going on, but Zuidema's got the pace at the moment and is making use of the clean air. As you can see with time penalties, almost every driver, with the exception of just a handful of them, have a time penalty. So as Zenith making moves now on Fuzz with those soft tires. And Zenith also making a move. Excuse me. I was going to say I thought that was on Heron, but that was the other Alfa Romeo. So there we have a Renault in the pits of Cali. Or no, Renault Haas, excuse me. In the pits. Yeah, not a lot going on at the moment. Just kind of seeing the reflective pace of really the top four and how their different strategies are starting to play out. Speaking of strategies playing out, we have J. Cole into the pits now. He's going to be putting on a set of medium tires. Those should last to the end of the Grand Prix pretty easily. Let's see, he's going to be close. He should stay ahead of Heron, though. Oh, he should be fine. So be ahead of Heron, which will be a nice spot for him to be in. Still in the top 5, and knowing that a lot of other drivers in the top 5 will need to make another stop. For sure, Zuidema and Larkin, especially Zuidema, who's only used soft tires, so he needs to use another compound. Larkin, though, if he, I guess, doesn't need to make another stop, he's used his 2 tire compounds. But yeah, the real thing to watch now is just how their strategy and pit window and penalty situation basically all plays out. Unfortunately, there's not a ton of on-track action like there was in the first few laps. Surprised that there wasn't more of a DRS train forming, but it looks like there was a lot of drivers who all opted for slightly different strategies. As Zuidema comes into the pit, so he responds to his teammate boxing by going ahead and pitting as well. Larkin still should have a few more laps to make those soft tires work, and then I imagine he'll box for another set of softs, but it's like Zenith sizing up a move on Heron. He's able to get that move done before the braking zone. So Zuidema still emerged ahead of his teammate by a couple of seconds. Miami now is in a position where it might be worth him considering stretching to the end of the race. I'd be kind of surprised now if he didn't take that risk, because he doesn't have much to lose. He's got 4 seconds to Barton behind, 7 seconds, 8 seconds to Zuidema and J. Cole. And yeah, with about 14 laps to go, it's going to be close. I think he might be able to if he chooses to take that risk, but we saw a lot of the guys who started the race on mediums pitting somewhere around lap 12 to 15. That's about what the mediums did at the beginning. The car will be lighter now at the end of the race, so you should be able to get more life out of the tires because there's less weight and less force going through the tire. So they should be able to extend, but even so, that's a very healthy stint on the medium tires. But as I've said before, the driving the Ferrari so long, maybe the Ferrari strategy is starting to wear off on me. So take my strategy calls with a grain of salt. Looks like Heron is trying his best to stay on the back of Zenith, but Zenith on those soft tires just has got the pace. So Larkin out front has got a pretty healthy lead, but he'll need to stop again. Fortunately for him, since he put in his time on the mediums already, he'll be able to stop for the softs. So we have Miami diving into the pits, so As I said, don't listen to me when it comes to strategy. He decided to pit for another set of mediums. Surprising he didn't pit for a set of softs with only 12 laps to go. He might have used up all his softs in qualifying, though. But Larkin has been just pretty steadily increasing that gap on Zuidema. Fuzz looking in a very good spot. Fuzz and Miami each looking in really good spots, mostly because they have no penalties. The penalties here are really going to start to add up, I think. There's... yeah, Jin has 9 seconds. A lot of drivers in the top 10 have 3. Beck, RC, a lot of those guys are on the fringes of points, struggling as well. We have Larkin diving into the pits, so we'll see where he comes out. Zuidema should take the lead as he's crossing the start-finish straight right now. So Zuidema will take the lead. J. Cole is going to retain P2 for the moment. Because Larkin's going to be coming out on soft tires, and Larkin, I believe, has no penalties. J. Cole does have penalties. Unfortunately for Larkin, he got just out behind Heron, so he's probably going to have to wait till this start-finish straight. If he doesn't lose his front wing first, he's going to have to wait for this DRS straight to actually make that overtake. Which isn't a big deal, but it does just prevent him. From making headway that little bit earlier. So Larkin now with some clean air. We've got a yellow flag. Looks like maybe one of the Alfa Romeos around. Yep, in the grass. Just waiting for traffic to clear. Looks okay to go. But yeah, Larkin is just going to be now spending these last 10 laps just pumping in as many fastest laps as he can. Trying to close that gap. He should be able to. It's about 7.5 seconds, and as we know, the softs are about a second a lap faster. At least initially, they will die off, but he's going to overtake Jinnit here, no problem with DRS, although he's not opening DRS, so there can be a bug sometimes where your DRS is stuck open or closed. I didn't see him use DRS on Heron either, so he might be having an issue with his DRS. He might not be able to use it. But yeah, he's got 6 seconds to J. Cole with the time penalty. So P2, I'm sure for Larkin is possible. P1 is going to be more of a challenge because he's going to have to make that overtake, and well, first he has to close this entire 6-second gap. And then make the overtake, and by that time the soft tires might be giving themselves up a little bit, but he should be able, I imagine, if he can avoid penalties, he should be able to finish P2 as he sets the fastest lap. Zuidema out in front, not really feeling too much pressure from behind. He's locked up a few times as Heron picks up a 5-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane, so that could be really costly for him. As he's been in position a lot of the race inside the top 10 with some maybe looking like a P6 or P5 even as a possibility for him at some points in this race. So now down in P8 picking up another 5-second penalty. He will have the benefit, as a lot of drivers around him will in these closing laps, on fresh softs. Jinnit's boxed for softs, Fuzz is boxed for softs, Bag of Bones is boxed for softs, RC is boxed for softs. So a lot of these drivers, and Larkin and Barton also just on 1 lap at softs, so a lot of these drivers making their second and final stop for a fresh set of soft tires that will be rather pacey in these final stages. So Zuidema not feeling that much pressure from behind. Larkin has closed that gap quickly from 6 seconds down to 3.9 over the course of just a few laps. So, like I said, with that time penalty for J. Cole, Larkin doesn't need to make the overtake to finish P2. Miami, unfortunately, does not look like he's got the pace right now on those mediums to close up and take that podium spot, but with Barton's penalties and the penalties behind, P4 looks pretty solid for Miami right now. It's not a win, it's not a podium, but he will still get a nice solid haul of points, and there's a chance that I'll have to check the standings again, but the top 4 right now are in reverse order of the top 4 in the championship standings. So that's only going to close the field up as we go into the final 2 rounds. So that's as it stands right now, though. There's still some laps left in this Grand Prix, so a lot can change. But yeah, right now Larkin seems to be still catching J. Cole, but slowing down a little bit. I think there was a back marker in there somewhere that he might have been overtaking. Looks like he might have been doing that now down the start-finish straight, but looks like his progress is slowed a little bit, which shouldn't affect his ability to finish P2, but if he wants this race victory, he's going to have to get up to the back of J. Cole quickly. DRS is open now, so maybe that issue is fixed, I'm not sure. The game can be a little bit odd with DRS sometimes. Sometimes it'll stay open and then randomly close, or close when you come to the pits. Sometimes it'll stay closed and they fix it in the pits, or it just fixes on its own. It's a bit odd sometimes with those DRS malfunctions. Whatever it was, it looks like Larkin was able to use it there. And yeah, that back marker looked like it cost him a little bit of time, because already just this lap he's gone from about 3.2 to 2.6 seconds behind J. Cole. Almost impossible at this point to know about positions about 5 through 12. It's almost impossible to make any sort of guess about what's going to happen as Fuzz picks up that penalty. Every single driver in position 5 through 12 has some amount of penalty. As Beck picks up another one, so there's a lot of drivers who now have multiple penalties in that list. So it is anyone's guess how that all is going to work out. But yeah, Larkin, we're following on board with him as he's the fastest man on track at the moment. There's not, I don't see any other real battles. Heron's within Fuzz's DRS, but it's the only driver who's even within DRS of the driver in front. So Zuidema just continuing to put in solid laps at the front. I think, not to have the commentator's curse come on him, but he should be in a pretty comfortable position for the rest of this race. About 6 laps to go. He's got he's got almost 3 seconds to J. Cole, and then Larkin's another 1.5 seconds behind roughly. So I mean, Larkin's going to give it his all, but that's a pretty big margin, and like I said, the softs, my guess is probably about this point or maybe next lap are going to... The advantage that Larkin has is only going to shrink. XL Cali down in P13 doesn't have any penalties. He still could get some points here. He's quite a long ways back time-wise, interval-wise, but I know there's a lot of drivers who picked up a lot of penalties, so even P13, not out of it yet. Larkin looks like he's only maybe a lap or two from getting DRS. And obviously, as soon as he gets that DRS, we've seen drivers kind of in individual battles how easy it is to overtake down this main straight. Doesn't look like he has DRS open this lap, but is in the slipstream, and I would imagine probably next lap down the start-finish straight we will see an overtake for P2. But Zwiedema has picked up a 3-second time penalty with only 4 laps to go. Zwiedema has picked up a time penalty, and that opens the door wide open for Larkin to take this race victory. Now all he's got to do, I'm sure he's going to have it up on his screen. I'm sure he'll see that Zwiedema's got a 3-second time penalty, and that opens it wide. It opens the door wide open for him to take this race victory. If Williams want to protect their race, we might see J. Cole run some defense here, so Zwiedema can keep that 3-second gap. But yeah, I mean, Larkin still will need to get past J. Cole for that to happen, but I would imagine that's going to be happening this lap, and then it's just going to be a matter of trying to close that, what is half a second, and it'll be his race victory. He's got DRS open. Looks like Zwiedema is dealing with a back marker. I wonder if maybe it was the wash from the dirty air from that back marker that might have caused him to just misjudge something, misjudge an entry or exit, and lose a little bit of time. Larkin wasn't able to get it done down the main straight, the second DRS straight around the outside. We've seen him make a few moves there, and once again a little bit of a squeeze, but fair, tough but fair. A bit of a wobble there on exit. That's going to give J. Cole a chance just to stay close to him, but through these S's it's going to be hard. Because of this battling, though, Zwiedema has been able to pull out some more time. So now it's 4.5 seconds. Larkin needs to find a 1.5 seconds just over the span of 3 laps. That changed quite a bit. Finding half a second over 3 laps, definitely possible. Finding 1.6 is going to be more of a challenge, especially as those softs now have 8 laps of wear on them. Yeah, it's going to be nail-biting watching the clock for that, and he might even have to re-overtake J. Cole, as J. Cole thought about a move. Let's see if J. Cole maybe makes a dive after this next DRS straight, if he's close enough. Looks like he got a good exit. He really might go for it here. Let's follow on board with J. Cole. He's gaining. Looks like he's using his overtake. Is he going to... backed out of it just at the end, but those mediums are not too far gone. Yellow flag just for the driver slowing down. Always appreciate that, especially as we've got a race for a potential victory. But yeah, now Larkin still 4.7 seconds behind, and having to defend a little bit. Probably having to drive in his mirrors a little bit because of J. Cole might be preventing him, as J. Cole picks up another time penalty, so that shouldn't affect his final position, as Miami is quite a ways back. Yeah, now you can see the effect of that DRS. Is he going to go for it? No, but once again, Larkin just has to maybe not take the ideal line, maybe play a little bit of defense, and that's costing him time to the victory. He's 1.7 now that he needs to gain to be within that time penalty window. I have no idea what Larkin's situation is with warnings, but that might be part of it too. He might be in a position where he's on 2 warnings and one misstep, one wrong corner might cost him any chance. But right now, as Wiedema's going through the stadium section, he's got over a second and a half, almost 2 full seconds, because of his time penalty. So the time penalty of 3 seconds, he's got 1.8 as a safety window for that, and it looks like unless he has another mistake or picks up another penalty, or Larkin just unleashes the lap of his life, it looks like Wiedema should be okay. J. Cole is just all over the back of Larkin, though. I'm sure he's trying to pressure Larkin into a mistake, and if Larkin does make a mistake or picks up a time penalty, he'll be right there to snag B2. He might go for a move here. Final lap, he's going to send it down the inside. A lockup, he goes in deep, leaves space on the inside. They're level on traction. Very close racing, but fair racing, and J. Cole has that position back. Larkin just backing out of it. If I'm Larkin, I say go for it, bud. I'm not going to fight you. You have a time penalty. I don't. I won't finish P. I don't know if it's worth him fighting too much and risking picking up a penalty. So I think for Larkin, maybe the right move as he picks up a penalty in the final corner. Larkin picks up a penalty with 2 corners to go, and it's going to cost him. Oh, I thought it would cost him more, but I guess J. Cole picked up another penalty. Oh my goodness. Penalties galore. Miami, by my count, the only driver without a time penalty. Wow. I really thought Larkin lost P2 in this race because of that time penalty, but it looks like J. Cole must have had 6 seconds. I guess I missed that. I thought J. Cole had 3. A time penalty on the final lap as Heron takes a 5-second time penalty for an unserved penalty, so that might be going to the stewards. But looking down the rest of the field, Barton hangs on to P5. Jinnit does a good job coming from outside the top 10 to P6. Fuzz is going to hang on to P7. Heron, despite that 5-second time penalty, finishes P8. Bag of Bones, P9. And Beck, despite, I believe, I was going to say let's get a look at the penalties, but we'll see in just a moment. But despite a lot of time penalties from the drivers in the top 10, yeah, Larkin, driver of the day, coming from outside the top 10 with multiple chances at a race victory, but settled for P2 in the end. It's a Williams double podium, as we've so often seen. Larkin's up there as well. So let's take a look at these results, and it'll be tough to know exactly what implications this is going to have for the championship standings, depending on what time penalties might get removed and changed and everything. It is Wiedema, though, with the victory. Larkin in P2, J. Cole P3, our championship leader Miami in P4, Barton, Jinnit, Fuzz, Heron, Bag of Bones, Beck rounding out the top 10, with RC, JXW, Cali, Gin and Juice, and Ashes finishing outside the points. So I just want to check Race Director real quick and see when Larkin picked up his second, or when J. Cole picked up his second time penalty. With a few laps to go. Okay, so on lap 34 he picked up his time penalty, so that's what I must have missed. But then, yeah, Larkin had a warning and then just picked up that penalty final corner, so he must have known that J. Cole had 6 seconds and wasn't finding it. But yeah, I missed that second penalty for J. Cole, apologies. But yeah, what a finish, and really exciting race. Every driver going for the 2-stop, so once again, ignore me when it comes to strategy calls. I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, very exciting race. It'll be really interesting to see. Just thinking about the championship table quickly, my guess is that is going to move Larkin to P1, Zuidema should be in P2. J. Cole maybe will retain B3, or P, maybe J. Cole drops to P4. Well, we'll check in with the standings next week, but needless to say, I think it's going to be a four-way championship fight. All four of them still with a shout at the championship, and yeah, it might even go down to the very last race. Who knows? So yeah, very, very tight battle, and every race, every point, every fastest lap is going to count. So I have been Zag. This is round 20, I believe. We've got only 2 more left in this very exciting EU season. So we'll see you next week as we go to Brazil, and I'm sure we'll have another great race then. So we'll see you all next week.